How y'all doing? I'm the Watchman, and this video right here is I was in in my personal studies and reading. I came across a couple verses, two verses that I had never really heard before, and let's just say they really stuck in my mind and in my heart, and right when I woke up this morning, and I'm sitting here, and I was thinking about doing part 6 on the roof series, and it's just impressed upon me that I need to speak on these two verses. I mean, and they really blew me away, and it even surprises me. And I call them the verses that the devil loves to keep hid, because I was born and raised in the church, and I've never heard these verses being taught or told, and they really need to be. And when you hear me elaborate on them, you'll see why. You'll clearly see why. For we are in perilous times, and the days and the hours are getting so short. Before I get to the verses, I know y'all like, hurry up. What is the verses? What are they? Before I get to the verses, I went I went to Nashville the other night to surprise my mom, me and the kids, and as I'm sitting there looking around, and Nashville, Tennessee is very multicultural, and people of all different races, backgrounds, creeds, and I couldn't help but, as I was looking around and glancing and seeing the many different people and races and religions, and there's so many people who are in Babylon, including myself and my children. I'm sitting there and I'm looking, and I'm talking about as far as the dress, the way we're dressing, the way we're eating, what we're drinking, what we're listening to, and I couldn't help but think about Christ and the compassion that he had when he looked around. I couldn't imagine his thoughts. Can you imagine the thoughts of the Creator? Even in his time, let's look at his time. Here, he created everything, and he's looking around, and everybody's so busy. And here, God in flesh is standing amongst them, and they don't recognize him for who he is. That thought is so dangerous, but what it's like, what can I learn from that? And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at everybody so busy, and it hits me like a ton of bricks. I see why people don't recognize God for who he is. We are so busy, not busy with God's work, but the devil has so many things that he places in our lives to just keep us busy, to keep our minds off of the main things that they need to be on. And as I was sitting there and I'm glancing around, my heart couldn't help but go out to everyone around me. I was in a food place and my kids were playing with other children, and I'm looking at their parents, and they're watching me, and we're looking at each other, and I'm looking around, and my heart couldn't go out in sympathy, because so many are caught up in the ways of this life, to where God has literally become secondhand, secondhand priority. I mean, like, I see why Jesus said, in the days of Noah, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be. See, what struck the days of Noah was that God was the furthest thing from their mind. When you go to Genesis 6 and you're reading about Noah, he says evil was on their mind continually. And it doesn't have to be big You know, when I used to hear that, I used to think it was big, evil, wicked thoughts were on their mind. No, just when your mind isn't on God, it's on evil. You know, it's almost like when you're, it's almost like the word itself. When you're not living for God, when you don't live for God, you do the opposite. Your mind is on evil. It's like, take the word live, L-I-V-E. You flip that around, it's E-V-I-L. When you don't live for God, you flip it, and you're being evil because your thoughts, God has no, it's sort of like when Christ was born, came to the world to be born, there was no room for him at the end. There was no room for him at the end. But anyway, it reminded me of this verse that I came across just a week or two ago, and it's very humbling, y'all. And I don't know, but I'm vexing my soul. I don't want to be on that other side. I'm vexing my spirit. I'm vexing my soul. To Lord, purge me. Show me the things in my character I need to get rid of. Even though I might not want to see it or want to believe it or want to get rid of them, help me. And he does. And when he shows you these things, they come right after the other. You think, okay, Lord, okay, I've given that to you. I'm stopped being so lashing out at my family members so much. And then he shows you something else. Okay, you're too critical of the church. And people went, okay, Lord, a minute I work on that, okay, I need to stop being so critical. Then he shows you something else. You're too lazy in your personal life. You need to start getting up, exercising more. Then you say, okay, Lord, I work on that, work on that. Then he shows you something else. Pow, you need to be more punctual, you know, and have more order. I love how God, because I'm telling y'all, I'm sitting there and it's like my eyes were open. God is opening, and I couldn't help but see like, wow, we're caught up. We're busybodies with no time for God. God is the furthest thing from people's minds nowadays. We might say a little prayer. We might, you know, over our food. We might do this, but how much is he a priority in everything that you do? The clothes you pick out, is he the priority? Is he your judgment of your clothes? The words you say, is he your priority? The things you watch, is he your priority? This is the biggest thing. Your time. Is he the priority of your time? Does he receive most of your time? Or do we feel like 30 minutes to an hour is enough for the day? And I will tell you, beloved, the trick is, what the devil's trying to do, the trick is, if he can get you in the habit of only spending an hour with God a day, or an hour here, 30 minutes there, even 2 hours, or 2 hours here. Oh, you're done, great. You spent 2 hours with the Lord, 2 hours here. How can you spend eternity with the Savior if your body isn't even used to spending the majority of its time with Him? And of course, I'm not saying don't have time to do other things, but beloved, if you're doing things that's all right, you know, that isn't bad, God can be with you while you go out and have fun and you do these other things. God can be right there with you. You can still spend time with the Lord and enjoy time with your family and spend time out doing this, doing your shopping, doing your groceries. Take God with you. Take God with you. Anyway, I'm gonna get to these verses because these verses are verses that the devil wants to keep hid from every believer, every Christian, no matter your denomination, no matter what you believe. Turn in your Bibles with me. Go to 1 Peter chapter 4. 1 Peter chapter 4, and I'm going to read verses 17 and 18. 1 Peter chapter 4, I'm going to start at verse 17. For the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of God? 18. And if the righteous scarcely be saved, and if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? Beloved, Peter wrote this in his day. Let's look at the beginning of 17. And his first words was, for the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of God. A lot of people, some people tell you, we're not in the last days, or, God hasn't come yet, and, Jesus really isn't about to come. And I tell you, beloved, all the signs are there. I did a documentary called The End of Days almost a year ago, and I was breaking down Bible prophecy, and it humbled me because I saw that almost all of prophecy is fulfilled already. The majority of people who will say we're not in the last days, or we're not even close to when Jesus is coming, do not know prophecy. And I'm not just guessing. I'm not just, no. I've actually asked people, they say that, I say, okay, so you understand the three angels' message? They're like, what? Revelation 13, are you clear on that? They're like, who? Revelation 13, the beast, who? We have to become back students of this. Let's make this our priority. The only way that you will be able to see clear is to get the roadmap, and to learn the roadmap. Beloved, this verse is so humbling because it says, for time has come that judgment must begin at the house of God. All of us who proclaim to love Jesus, to do his work, we will be judged first. Let's not get it twisted that the world, a lot of times the devil is so slick in his ways. We are dealing with a mastermind who has perfected making you sin. He has perfected it. And through TV and through movies and through false teachers, he has us believing that the sinners, the people in the world will be judged first. That is not true. I'm thinking certain movies that I even watched back when I did watch TV and movies have just flashed through my head, where when natural disasters come, and in the movies of the last days or the demons come, they always attack the people in the world first. Everybody in the world gets damaged, killed, eaten, destroyed, and all that. And then the people in the church are, ooh, we're so safe. Ooh, we're so safe. Ooh, great time. Ooh, thank the Lord. But God, the word strictly says that judgment begins at his house first. The people out in the world get more leniency because they either don't know the truth, haven't been shown the truth, have been chased out of the church by hypocrites, people who aren't following the word, like you and I. Judgment begins at home first. Let me show another verse to back this up. Go to Daniel. No, not Daniel. Ezekiel. Go to Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 8. I didn't plan on showing this verse, but the Holy Spirit said, go. Ezekiel, not 8, but 9. Ezekiel chapter 9. And go to verse 4. Verse 4. It says, and the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And to the others he said in mine hearing, Go ye after him through the city, and smite. Let not your eye spare, neither have ye pity. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house, and begin at my sanctuary. Beloved, if we profess, if we claim, if we know even a little bit, if we know in our hearts and in the back of our minds we're supposed to be doing the will of God, that we're supposed to be living godly lives, I tell you, vex your soul, humble your heart. I'm pleading with you because I had to look at myself like, Joshua, what are you doing? God is blessing you with knowledge to share to others, but also so you can get right, because judgment is going to begin at his house. You will be judged first, Joshua, because of what you know, because of what you should have did, because of what you didn't do. I tell you, beloved, and I'm not the only one. To all of us who profess to love Christ, how much are we seeing the times, or are we running around as busybodies? Do we think everything is pretty much okay? You know, the morals is, I live in a day and time. I work with over 2,000 people. 2,000 people, and I was just engaged for 9 months now. And before I met my fiance and became engaged, I realized on a high level, I am, being a child of God is the oddity. It isn't the norm. Doing what God asked you to do, people look at you like you're odd. People might say, oh, Joshua, no, I'm not exaggerating in the slightest. I'm not exaggerating in the slightest. I've had women come on to me before I met my fiance, and women would come on to me and, ask me to go out and do certain things, and I would tell them, well, nah, I ain't going to the bar or the club, and they would look at me like I was crazy, and I'd say, well, how about let's go just catch a meal or something. And I'm like, okay, then after we could go. And I say, nah, not even after. Or, or there would be someone who say, okay, yeah, I see he's serious about church, so I see he's serious about church. But I know I can get him to compromise. And literally would try and still get me to compromise. Or I've been say, well, you're kind of weird, I'm not used to guys like you, or you're seriously. I had a female tell me one time, she said, you don't have sex, and not realizing it was a weakness of mine, like Superman and Kryptonite, and I don't have no problem being honest about my faults and my flaws. I'm not perfect by far. And so when this woman was coming at me like, oh, you don't sleep around, she was blatantly told me, she said, I'd love it if we were cut buddies, if we could do something on the side, we don't have to have no strings attached. And I'm like, no. And I even told her, I said, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. And I even told her, I said, look, I said, you're tempting me. You're tempting. She wasn't ugly at all. I said, you were very tempting, but I can't do it. I can't do it. I said, it might open up a tunnel and just keep spinning and falling. I said, it's something I really wrestle with and fall. She said, you're strange. And it really hit me that We live in a time to where if you do and live the word, you are looked at as strange, indifferent, funny, peculiar. And that's what God calls us to be. He says a peculiar people, separate from the world. So I actually, in my head, I was like, thank you, woo, thank you. That's one sign. But does that mean I'm automatically going to be saved? Because I do these Bible lectures, does that mean I'm going to be saved? Because I preach behind a pulpit, does that mean I'm going to be saved? Because I help people, does that mean I'm going to be saved? No. I can do these things and still lose my soul. I will not get comfortable. And I woke up this morning and God said, share it, Josh, because I'm not going to get comfortable. And I stress, do not get comfortable. Ask the Lord to show you what else you need to clean out of your character and in your life. Do not be comfortable. Do not get comfortable here. Not now. Not in this day and time. Being comfortable and settling is a dangerous way to live. Thinking you're all right is a dangerous way to live. And God warns us of this in Revelation of the last day church. This was the problem of the last day church. See, because nowadays we've professed worldly gain to living with God. And what I mean is, if someone has a nice house and a nice car, and they wear their suit and their tie, and they come into the church will look at them like, God is really with him, because God is blessing him. We equate blessing with material gains as being close to God, when really it is the opposite. It is the opposite, and we need to stop. And people, and I hope people say, "Oh, Josh, you're exaggerating." Like God said it's wrong to test people, and so I wouldn't call it a test, but I sometimes would just dress in a regular t-shirt. Y'all see me in my Bible lectures with just my regular little t-shirt, and I had a car that was 24 years old before I totaled it, before someone ran into me head first back in July, this past July. That car was 24 years old, and it looked like it. And even my kids and people used to say, because Lord bless me with a good job, and they say, Josh, why don't you just get a new car? And I say, no, I love the fact, plus it was great on gas. It was a little Honda Civic. And I'm like, why? People say, oh, Josh, but you deserve a new car, or I can't see you in that little old beat up Honda. And I'm like, why? Why? So I can get something that's a 2000-ish, and what, you'll treat me different? Then I'll appear to be a minister because my car is newer. Beloved, that is why many did not accept Christ, because Christ had regular clothes, because his money went to the poor and to the needy. He was a carpenter's son. He wasn't flashing. He didn't have rims. He had money. Judas held the purse for the disciples. Christ was not walking around broke. He had wise men come from other land and lace his family. God did not have his son grow up penniless and poor begging. He laced him with gold when he was born to take care. Believe it or not, he was a carpenter's son, but the carpentry shop did not have cheap tools. Christ did not grow up penniless, poor. He had money that could have been spent on those things, but did he know his money was to the priority of God's kingdom? And that was like that car, when the lady hit me head on. I joke with people. I say God had to force me to get out that car, And one of my friends, he gave me a car 2 months before I totaled that, And so the money I got from insurance, I just ended up getting that one fixed. But beloved, my point is, I'm the same person in that 24-year-old beat up Honda Civic that I am in a 2009 Hyundai Elantra. But I'm going to tell you, people treat you different. And Christians treat you different, whether they say it or not. The attitude is different when they see you in those two different cars. My Elantra now, it's a 2000-ish. That's all I'll say, because it doesn't matter to me. It was given to me. I wouldn't have bought it. One of my friends, old friends I grew up with, we grew up in the streets together, running around. He said, you know, this is my donation to the ministry. And he gave me this 2 months before I totaled my car. He said, I don't know what's wrong with it. It don't run. But it was a 2000-ish expensive looking car. And he said, it don't run. You can have it. I said, what? I thought he was joking because the car looks good, y'all. And I thought he was joking. So I took the car. And beloved, the money I got from the insurance from me totaling my 24-year-old car, I'm sure how great God is. I totaled that car. The money I got from insurance not only got the 2000-ish car fixed, but it also left me with a nice chunk of change left over. So not only did God have to force me to get out my car, get out of that car, but he took care of me in getting another one. But that was not my aim and goal, and I didn't pick it out and wouldn't have picked it out the first place. But my point is that judgment starts at the house of God, and we are living in error. Vex your soul. It is time to look and see what needs to be cleaned out. For we have been taught lies that judgment is going to start with the world first, and that because you say you love Jesus, you are okay. Judgment starts at his house. Let's finish reading the verses. I haven't even got past the first. And it says, and if it first begin at us, back at 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 17, for the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first begin in us, what shall the end of them that obey not the gospel be? Beloved, our friends, our family in the world need to hear that let me finish. 18 says it the best. It says, and if the righteous scarcely be saved, that means I can do all of this. I can have an online ministry. I can preach. I can give word to the poor. I can pray for hours. I can tell God I love him till the day. And if I can still scarcely be saved, how much more for those who party, drink, smoke, or out in the world? They need to hear that, hey, I might not even make it. So many people say, oh, Josh, you deserve God. You deserve. No, I strictly tell them I don't deserve his love. I am a sinner. And even I'm probably more worse than you because I know the word. And when I don't control certain thoughts, God looks at me harsher than he does someone out in the world. And they need to hear that if the righteous can barely make it into heaven, how much more will they make it? Let me say that again. If the righteous is scarcely saved, if you and I can barely make it into the gates, how much more will they be saved? Beloved, this is what they need to hear. We need to hear. We need reminding. That just because we scream on Jesus' name, just because we pray, just because you turn tithe, go to church, doesn't mean you're entering in the gates. We need to stop with these songs and tell people the truth behind, because so many people have the thought that if I do these little things for God, I'm going to be saved, and it's going to be the great getting up morning. Beloved, judgment is at our door. We are being judged right now. And if you are a Christian, if you're watching this, you obviously have a yearning for the Lord. And judgment begins with us. And I don't know about you, I don't want to be on that other side. You know, I don't want to be on the other side. I don't want to be on the outside of when the New Jerusalem comes down. I don't want to be on the outside of the walls looking in at all those who cried unto the Lord, who vexed their souls, who said, Father, please, please, take this sin from me. I want to see all of those who did not get comfortable. Do not be complacent and get comfortable in your spiritual walk. You always have room for improvement. There's always room to get closer to God. Beloved, these two verses, the devil wants to keep hid from every Christian, from every believer, because we have an idea that judgment starts out in the world and it starts with us. We will be judged first. We will be judged harsher. So we have to work extra hard at keeping our eyes on what doesn't need to be in our lives. Let's not be busybodies. Let's not be a part of the norm. Take it joy when people say you are weird, you are strange. Don't think you gotta fit in with people to bring them to Christ. That is a trap and sin of the devil, because the more you compromise, the further the rabbit hole you'll fall into. Beloved, it's like with the law. So many people want to say, like the video of Jesus came to abolish religion. Beloved, I'd rather die and lose my soul in church than take my chances saying I don't need it. I'd rather die and be forsaken and lose my soul keeping God's commandments than to say they were done away with. I'd rather die keeping God's seventh-day Sabbath than to say than to keep the known first day pagan day of worship called Solo Day, the venerable day of the sun. I rather, because people say, oh, it don't matter what day you keep holy. Then if it don't matter, then keep the one God said keep. You know, people say it don't matter what day you keep. Well, they say the trap is it doesn't matter what day you worship. You're right. God says worship every day. I want to get this clear. Worshiping and keeping a day holy are two different things. For can man choose what day we make holy? Can we make anything holy? No. We're supposed to worship God every day. True. But he said, keep the Sabbath day holy. And I'm going to tell you, beloved, people say it doesn't matter what day you get. Well, if it don't matter, then I'm going to keep what he said anyway. If it doesn't matter, if I keep the commandments, then I'm going to keep them anyway, because I'd rather die and lose my soul trying to please God and be found in his law and in his church than to die because I wasn't there in the first place. Vex your soul. Look around with honest eyes. We are in a wicked time. All shows, little kid shows. I got my kids with me right now, you know, for the holidays. And I go in there and I'm looking at the Disney Channel and I'm like, what do these little girls got on? Little girl yesterday on the show Jessie and these other little shows with the little black girl from Daddy's Little Girls. These other little girls got boots up to right here with tight spandex on, and the shirt ends right here, and the spandex, the tights, and 3 of the little girls are dressed like this. Every show that I saw on the Disney Channel had the little girls dressing like this. Those tights are just like wearing, like it's basically just skin. Oh, because you got tights on, I can show my, you know, the little girl can have just because she got tights on, they can be all the way up to like right here. Her shirt literally was like right here, barely below her waist, and she had tights on, so you could see her the indentures of her private parts and all of that. This is children on a children's show. We are in Babylon, and these things are looked at as okay just because they're tights. It's like wearing skin, like you have nothing on, period, anyway. You know, like you're not really wearing anything. And it's sad because we look at these things like they're okay because we have gotten comfortable with it. Love, being comfortable in this day and time is a trap. The devil wants us to, that's why it's sad when I look around, like I told you, I'm in that, and I'm looking around and I see a lot of other little girls dressing in these so jean cut off shorts. Y'all seen them, and then they have the tights up under them, but it's like little jean cut off mini skirts with the tights on and boots. What are we dressing them as? What are we doing? It's time to vex your soul. Cry unto the Lord. It's time we tell the world the truth, that if we can barely make it in, how much more will they be saved? Cry unto the Lord, for judgment begins at his house. And I don't know about you, I don't want to be on that other side. I'd rather live with God forever. I'd rather suffer down here, be called weird, strange. I'd rather suffer here and live forever in happiness than to be happy here for just a little while and burn in the lake of fire. What is worth holding on to here? I honestly believe we can't imagine how heaven is truly going to be. I don't think our imaginations can even grasp what heaven is really going to be like. And I'm willing to sacrifice everything here just to take a chance at getting there. Y'all have a blessed day.